Yep. Call to order this meeting of the Plain Township Board of Trustees for Tuesday, December 5th. If everybody will stand for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Of course, we have our agenda. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections by fellow board members or department heads at this time?
Parts 1, sir, resolution for recorder's office fees.
Do we have any other? Okay, the agenda will stand as amended and presented. Let's see. Nothing on our sheriff's unfinished or new business. It'll take us right to the fiscal officer. Mr. Wolf.
Thank you. Fiscal Officer number 1 is a request for a resolution to authorize pending warrants in an amount of $110,981.66.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 2 is a request for a resolution to authorize payment of regular payroll in an amount not to exceed $250,000.
I'll move on fiscal officer number 2.
I'll second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 3 is a request for resolution to authorize payment for the following medical claims.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 4 is the financial report for November.
Anybody should have any questions, feel free to seats on after the meeting.
Fiscal Officer number 5 is a request for resolution to authorize a refund as follows for overpayments for emergency medical services.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 6 is a request for resolution to enter into a contract coverage agreement with the State of Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation for the calendar year 2018 and to authorize payment to the State of Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation for the calendar year 2018 of $82,724.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, just any for clarification purposes. I mean, this is really, it's amortized out over the 12-year period, whereas in private industry, they're typically getting it either on a monthly or quarterly basis, and this ties into its number of employees plus payroll.
And we've maxed out on savings with all the BWC programs, transitional work program, the drug-free workplace, industry specific, so we've got every rebate we can have.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 7 is a request for resolution to authorize the following transfers.
I'll move on fiscal officer number 7.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
And that concludes the Fiscal Officer's report.
Thank you. Before we proceed to the administrator's report, I just want the record to reflect zoning director has an excused absence this evening due to family medical related matter. That being said, turn it over to our administrator, Ms. Campbell.
Thank you. Item number 1 is a resolution to approve the renewal and authorized payment for the Leads Online Power Plus service package in an amount not to exceed $2,364, and that is half of the cost from Fund 09807.
I will so move.
Second.
Discussion, just clarification. This is actually something Bill had brought. Would you want to just, if you don't mind, just a quick little.
Yeah, I mean, it's
and how it's benefited you guys.
oh, absolutely. I think Detective Ross has probably used it a little more than I have recently.
I have as of late, yes.
Yeah, but the nice thing about it, having the access, all the patrol units have access to it, so if they get a case that's fresh, they can start looking for stolen items that have been recently pawned. We have recovered items over the last year through the use of this service. So not only does it benefit Detective Ross, it benefits all of the deputies that are assigned to Plain Township. And they all should have access to it. I've been working with a couple, so all the guys know about it, and it's still a useful tool.
And it's paid up with the levy funds now, which is nice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Further discussion, roll call?
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Item number 2 is a resolution to approve and authorize payment to Worcester Brothers Landscaping for the November 2017 composting.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion, roll call?
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Item number 3 is a resolution to increase the skilled gaming permit fee from $4,000 to $5,000 annually. These fees to be enforced by the Plain Township Zoning Department effective January 1st, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, I think it's important that we had all received the analysis that Tom had done, our annual fee, that though it's on the higher end, our per unit fee is about half of what anybody else's, so based upon, and I know I shot back with some initial thoughts, and after we tempered it with some additional discussion, the annual fee, you know, we are going in there multiple times. You know, and it's been 5 years since we've done any type of adjustment, their associated cost. So $1,000, I mean, as much money as some of these places are.
A lot more.
Yeah,
I just think.
our net effect is still going to be probably more advantageous than some that may have the low annual fee but a higher per terminal.
Just makes more sense that this one is easier to monitor because, you know, we may inspect once a year and they may have 10 machines and, you know, next week they may have 20 machines. And, you know, if we're not going out all the time and investigating that, and trying to follow up on it, I just think this is the easier way to do it.
Yeah, a lot easier.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
And the last item is a resolution to accept the attached rate schedule for life and accidental death and dismemberment insurance from One America for the period of January 1st, 2017, 2018, through December 31st, 2020.
I will so move.
Second.
Discussion, I just want to point out, I know we chatted earlier today, this was something that, as we were looking at our annual, just even insurance benefits, this was one piece that nothing more had been offered. You did some research, and ironically, it leads to about 33 to 35% savings
Per person,
per person,
employee.
yeah. So, it's exceptional.
Are those dates correct?
I corrected them on the record.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, no further discussion, roll call?
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
And that's the end of the administrator report.
Thank you. That will take us to the fire department, Chief Schellenberger.
Thank you. Item number 1 is a resolution by Plain Township Board of Trustees, Wright County, Ohio, to authorize the purchase and payment of rescue airbags from Finley Fire Company, not to exceed $7,000 per attached quote.
I'll move on. FD1.
Second.
Discussion. Chief, do you mind just giving a quick, for the sake of the record, if anybody would listen to this, what exactly these are? And, you know, as you had explained to me, I know in our conversation, just for the sake of the...
Yeah, we use these for our rescue, on our rescue truck, and they will be able, they're a thin like a pillow, and we're able to lift, you know, something off of somebody, or, you know, if we have somebody trapped underneath, or another car even, that we could use to stabilize with and raise cars. They only have about, you know, per warranty, about a 10-year lifespan. Ours are older than that, so they start to deteriorate the rubber membranes, so we're starting to replace some of them.
Thank you. No further discussion. Roll call, please.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item number 2 is resolution by Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to authorize purchase and payment of a Genesis E-Force rescue spreader and accessories from HAL Rescue Systems, not to exceed $11,000 per attached quote from 28A05.
So moved. Second. Discussion, just to clarify, these are essentially the jaws of life tools that folks would
That's true, yeah.
understand them as in the public, so.
Yeah, we've, you know, the generic name is Jaws of Life. This brand is different than first. We've kind of migrated to the E-Force or battery series just for ease of deployment, less weight, and we don't have to carry as much fuel and worry about mixtures and everything else for the starting up.
Yeah, I think so.
Much quieter too.
I say, I know through the field that heat got it over and over, you break your back versus these, I mean, it's night and day. So.
And you're not tethered by a hose, so you can take it more remote.
No further discussion, roll call please.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Thank you, that's all for fire department.
Okay, thanks, Chief. And take us to Road Department, Joe?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, item number 1 is a letter we received from Keith Bennett, our Stark County engineer. It's the annual revisions perpetration report that will be sent to the Department of Transportation to revise our road knowledge in the township for 2017. We lost 0.85 of a mile of roads through annexation, but we're gaining a little bit over 0.1 from some new allotments that we got in.
That's true. 17 or 18?
I thought it was, Joe, we're
about
about
170.
176. We're like 176.
Yeah.
175, 175.
75. we're close to
Yeah.
175.
All right. No further
Yeah, we'll be getting the official one from ODOT probably next month,
So this is just purely a communication piece, we don't,
in case we had any questions.
okay. Next.
Item number 2 is a resolution to authorize the purchase of road signs from Osborne and Associates, not to exceed $2,790.42. These are just various signs that we'll need throughout the winter.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
And item number 3 is the resolution to authorize the purchase of a 3,250-gallon horizontal lake tank from Plastic Mart, not to exceed $6,732.97.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, Joe, this is just to continue to build upon the old tanker truck
Brian
we
truck that
received
we're
from,
building this. We got the bed, now they're doing some other work. This has got about a month lead time, so by the time it gets here, they'll have everything ready to set up tank.
Almost brand new.
We talked to
Yes.
ODOT, and this is the kind of tank they use, so. And this will be able to be taken off, so the truck will be able to be used for a flatbed.
That's going to be a great idea, take
in
it
the
off the flatbed.
summer months.
Yeah, dual axle matches that weight limit, matches it perfect.
Everything.
And then you're training a couple of people to use this, and
Yes.
we're going to be
We
using
want
this on
everybody trained.
main
Some of
roads.
them don't have tankers, like endorsements, so we will have to make them get it, and we'll reimburse them. It's a written test only, so.
what time was the trustees training session?
I don't know, I've never driven a Brian. That's the thing I ever drove had water in it.
It's probably gonna be about the same.
We haven't done it, but I'm interested in how long it lasts per road. I mean, do you have to keep coming back?
Well, there's certain conditions. The road's gotta be dry, it's gotta be before a storm. This goes and gives you added time on your main roads and your hills that the snow won't stick to it. Once the roads are wet, you can't.
Can't use it.
Just to put it in the concession text, I just don't think stress enough. If you had to go out and buy this truck, new, set up, what, just in a ballpark, because I think folks need to understand truly
this
how much we're saving by having.
The truck itself is probably 90 to 100,000 just for the truck, and then all the added, but we're probably looking at 150,000. With the chief donating the truck to the road department, we'll probably have between $10,000 and $12,000 with our guys. Our guys are doing all the work, so our mechanics.
It's a brand new, it's gonna be very useful.
We have amazing mechanics.
Yes, we do.
And we're lucky.
Thank you. No further discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Thank you.
Zoning amendment, turn over to our administrator.
Thank you. The first resolution is a resolution to reappoint Scott Craig to the Plain Township Board as zoning commission for a 5-year term commencing January 1st, 2018 and expiring December 31st, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item number 2 is a resolution to reappoint Jeff Sutton to the Plain Township Board of Zoning Appeals for a 5-year term commencing January 1st, 2018 and expiring December 31st, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Lastly is a resolution to authorize a refund of $217 for a residential zoning permit payment to Stanley Somerson at the address noted.
I'll move on zoning number 3.
Second, discussion, roll
Yeah,
call. Or sorry.
I'm sorry, I just want to point out, we don't have a lot of refunds, but this gentleman took out a permit and a week later decided the project was too much. So it's fair in this case to do a refund.
Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Okay, it takes us to Parks Department, Mr. Steinberg.
Thank you. The only item tonight is a resolution to authorize payment to the Stark County Recorder in an amount not to exceed $64 from Fund 01F08E for the recording fee for our ODNR grant agreement at Alpine Park.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes. I would like to point out, all of the teams did an exceptional job at Winterfest. Everybody from, fiscal office, administration, road, fire, parks, zoning. We had a good turnout, especially knowing we were competing with First Friday and some other activities that were going on. The temperature helped us this year compared to last year, because it was so bitter cold last year.
Yeah.
But,
My daughter was the snowman, and she
Yeah.
came home just so happy about the event because she hasn't been to an event like that, and just thought it was just the greatest thing ever. And just, it's a great community event, and you're right, our team really does come together, for all of these events. But, when you have a 15-year-old tell you, wow, that was amazing, that is really meaningful.
absolutely. That'll conclude parks, nothing on our law director, nothing on our communications, public speaks. Anybody in the audience have anything for the board? Okay, that'll conclude public speaks, concerns of trustees. Trustee Munoz, anything? Trustee Sabo. I've got a couple things I just want to pass along, because prior to coming here, I was at the SCOG meeting. County radio system update, they're finalizing the deal with March. They hope to finish it within the next few weeks, i.e. two weeks, they had noted. That's stuff that's behind the scenes most folks don't visualize. They said as far as from a physical progress, they're going to start some of the engineering work Q1 2018 at the Cromer site. I don't have a physical address for that, but the other one is in Terrace Township. So there was that, and then there was also reference that one of, I think, 18 organizations that submitted for a maximum grant of $750,000 was applied for countywide radios. They should learn the status on that by December 15th. So I don't have much more detail outside of that, but
That was good.
Major Darrell Anderson.
That was due to the state fire marshal's grant.
Yeah,
for-
all right, that's,
for the-
thank you, Chuck.
We went through FEMA because we had too much population to apply for the
Sure.
fire marshal grant. Yeah, so ours was through a grant also, but yeah, there's, I think almost every agency in Stark County is trying to get that grant. So, or smaller agencies.
Yeah.
Yeah, they said there was Major Darrell Anderson had indicated two other organizations that they thought already had their funding and stuff taken care of, but then there were a number of entities that were either too small due to population restrictions, but did reference there were like 18 organizations that are ultimately competing for this. So
They might have a pretty good chance based on the direction that this project is going. If they wrote those grants around that, they might have a pretty good chance.
with respect, outside of the county radio system update, crime lab update, we were looking through the backlog report. Less than 6 months ago, we had approved an additional hire, and it's getting things turned around a lot quicker. When you take a look at like the firearm and fingerprinting backlog, it was about 232 cases in September. It's down to 58 right now, and they show no backlog in the chemistry lab. It's part of our conversation down there with the chemistry lab. They do have a pending retirement of an individual, so we had discussed hiring on an exception. What was listed as a exceptional appointment to this criminalist role in the crime lab, somebody that had interned there before and wishes to stay in the area. So next year, SCOG's costs will be up a little bit, but that's actually going to be offset by a grant that the Ohio Attorney General's organization is awarded potentially probably just one time, but it's a maximum grant of $130,000 to that, based upon the budget, which is looking solid with some carryover and so forth. That'll further augment that, so by the end of 18, the beginning of 19, this person can transition right into the role of the individual who's retiring, if not earlier, dependent upon that. So those were the main things we had spoke through. Of course, most important, the 2018 SCOG officer election. Essentially, Sheriff Meyer is staying. The chair, vice chair is Mark Chapman. Secretary is Craig Chesler. The vacant treasurer seat went to Alino. It's still vacant. So, executive committee members ex officio per the SCOG bylaws are John Ferraro, Joe Martusio, Bob Font, and then on the executive committee at large, you've got Mayor Burnaby, Ken Edelman, Marlboro Township, Randy Gonzalez, Joel Smith, the City of Massillon, Joe Mazzola, City of Alliance, and then myself, and then there's a vacant village representative position that's actually required by SCOG bylaws, so we'll be looking to fill those after the first. So I just wanted to point that out. And then, did you have any?
Well, why don't we, you're working on this driving range. I think maybe the repository should just, maybe that might get out, but the indoor range, maybe let them know what you're doing right now, how close it is, completion.
Sure, so we have ordered our netting. We expect it in the next couple of weeks. Once we get it, we'll fit it to the hardware, and we're hoping by year's end, if not by year's end, by the beginning of the new year, we're up and running with our indoor golf range, Mondays through Fridays, 11 A to 3 P, $5 small bucket, $10 large bucket, and we're excited about it.
Indoor range, how nice. I mean,
Yeah, we charge you double though.
That's maximizing the use.
Well, as of now, we'll have a 9 to 11 walking club, 11 to 3 with golf. We'll pick up at 3 o'clock, so we're ready to go by 3:30, and then we start right into evening programming. So we're filling the hole.
talked about, we found a solution, we're gonna put together mats. Mats are good size. It's ready to go, man. I can't wait. Take a casino and then shine it's a golf ball.
That's great.
In our range, man, man.
Sergeant Koenig will live there since he just lived there.
He does, just across the street.
He'll ride his cart over.
We're excited. It's gonna. We have some information coming out in the newsletter, and as we get closer, we'll send out press releases and hit social media and website.
On its way.
And then, actually, talking with Sheriff Meyer while we were at SCOG, he gave us a heads up, last meeting, last week, had all the new cruisers that they brought in to take a look at. They did do a press release to communicate that went out. I had seen it on social media through the Western Reserve or something, so essentially had a nice profile of our cruisers. It was the intention of showing that, hey, we're delivering on the levy commitments that, outside of that, for the sake of record, I'm gonna do my swearing in next meeting, prior to,
I'm gonna do mine.
so I've got Alan Harold, it's gonna come in 5:15.
Next week, next meeting.
You'll do it, right?
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah. Outside of that, anything else, trustee Sabo?
Nothing from me.
Okay, that concludes concerns of trustees, concerns of the fiscal officer.
No concerns.
Okay, that'll take us to approval of minutes for November 28th, and I will so move.
I'll second it.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes. I'll make a motion to adjourn at 6:25.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.